Health is wealth. Seriously, if we're not healthy, it doesn't matter how much money we have, we won't be able to fully enjoy it. One way to make sure you stay mentally and physically healthy is by prioritizing self-care. Now, that's going to look different for everyone, but in today's episode, I'm sharing what prioritizing self-care looks like for me and my budget. My hope is that you can take the strategies I use and apply them to your own life and budget, or tweak them to work for you. At the end of the day, if we skimp on the self-care, we will feel it negatively in multiple ways. Welcome to the City Girl Savings Podcast. I'm Rhea Reeves, founder and finance coach of City Girl Savings. I turned my life around with budgeting many years ago, and now I'm on a mission to help others do the same. I fully believe that you can enjoy your life on a budget, and this weekly show will focus on the intersection of money and the city girl lifestyle. Join me every week along with some special guests as I share my experiences, advice, and guidance on navigating life and money as an experience-loving millennial. Now, before we get into today's episode, I'm excited to share that the first City Girl Solutions question has come in. As a reminder, we're doing this new segment on the show where if you go to citygirlsavings.com/QA, you can ask a question and I will answer it on the podcast. So here is the question that came in. Thank you for your podcast. I follow it every week. My question for you is, how can I break through my current mindset of spending money on things I don't need because I feel like I deserve them? I feel like this is such a relevant question considering today's episode topic, but I think the first thing is, do you prioritize yourself in your budget? Meaning, the things that you enjoy spending your money on, are you budgeting for those things? If so, then you should not feel bad about spending your money on those things as long as you're sticking to the budget. So we can convince ourselves that we deserve a lot of things, right? But if those things that we think we deserve do not align with our budget or our goals, it's actually doing us more harm than good. So my first piece of advice is make sure the things you enjoy are budgeted for. That way you don't have to feel bad for spending money on those things. And second, if you do have a spending problem, maybe take a step back and reassess your goals. If you are constantly spending money that you shouldn't, it could be because your goals aren't as impactful as they should be. And when I say impactful, I mean the why behind them. Why do you have these goals? What will your life look like when you reach them? That why should be a stronger force than your desire to overspend. So hopefully that helps, and keep the questions coming. Okay, so on to what prioritizing self-care looks like for me and my budget. So I'm going to break this up in a few different ways because I think self-care can happen on multiple levels. So I'm going to share what it looks like for me on the various levels, and then I'll talk about the impacts to my budget. So first, how I prioritize self-care on a daily basis looks like working out. So I work out Monday through Friday. Journaling. I journal Monday through Friday. Enjoying an hour or two of my favorite TV shows. And I'm one of those people who can rewatch a show over and over if she loves that show. So shows like Sex and the City, Charmed, Succession, I can watch those over and over. So when I need to just mentally check out, I love turning on one of those shows. Iced coffees. Now, this is not exactly every day, but a few times a week, I indulge myself in an iced coffee, and then Friday night takeout. Again, this is not daily, but usually I like to end the week with a nice meal, and whether that's me buying it or my boyfriend, usually Friday nights are takeout nights. Now, on a monthly basis, self-care looks like a few things. So these two categories, if you will, are actually twice a month, but they're not as frequent as daily and not as infrequent as monthly. So I wanted to just lump them in this monthly level. But I get lash extensions twice a month. So I just maintain the previous extension that I had. I do that twice a month. I'm not big on always having my makeup done, always having my hair done, but I love lash extensions. I feel like it accentuates my face. That way, I don't always have to wear makeup or have myself looking all dolled up. It's a nice little additive without having to do those things. Another thing that I love and I consider self care is going to the movies. I am such a movie girl. I could go to the movies all the time if it didn't cost money, but it does. But I would say at least twice a month, I go to the movies. And I'm usually going with my boyfriend, but I have been known to go by myself. I have no problem with that. But I would say twice a month, I go to the movies. Now, moving on to true monthly self care activities. Massages. I do get regular massages. I carry all of my stress in my neck and my back. And so when I can feel the muscles like tightening up, I'm like, okay, I am overdue for a massage. I would say about once a month I get a massage. Sometimes I push it out a little longer, not necessarily willingly, but definitely get those on a monthly basis just to relieve the stress and tension. And then saving for travel. You will understand as I keep sharing, but I do save for travel on a monthly basis. I'm not traveling on a monthly basis, at least not yet, but saving for it does allow me to enjoy the trips when I do take them, which I'll talk about in a second. And rounding out my list of ways that I prioritize self-care is the less frequent basis. So I mentioned saving for travel happens monthly. Well, I actually take trips 2 to 3 times a year. Now, my end goal is to work up to 1 international trip per year and 3 to 4 domestic trips per year. So ideally, I'd like to have a trip every quarter. Not quite there yet. Right now, I'm about 2 to 3 trips per year, and that could either be just fully domestic or maybe 1 international and the rest domestic. But for me, traveling is a form of self-care for a multitude of reasons. First, it helps me recharge. So whenever I travel, I like to check out about 95% of the time. I am a business owner, so I have to be on just a little bit, but nothing like when I'm actually at home. I really do like to be present and in the moment. So when I take trips, I really do recharge. Traveling also helps me to stay motivated to work hard. It's really funny, but every time I take a trip, by the end of that trip, I am so motivated to get back home and get to work so I can just get things done and reach some goals before the next trip. So traveling really helps keep me motivated to work hard and stay the course. And it gives me something to look forward to. So when I do get back from a trip and I'm in this motivated work mode, I am able to kind of put my head down and grind because I know another trip is coming. I love when I have a trip planned. If it's, quite a few months out, I leverage that to my advantage. I say, hey, okay, Rhea, you got a trip in 3 months, so let's get to work. That way you can truly enjoy yourself when you go. Got a money question you want me to answer on the podcast? I'm starting a new segment on the show called City Girl Solutions, where I answer any questions you have for me. Money, business, life, you name it. Submit your questions at citygirlsavings.com/QA and get your question answered by me in a future episode. And did you know that we have so many free money resources on our blog, Instagram, and TikTok channels? Find us across the internet at City Girl Savings. If you haven't checked out episode 30, you can learn how I plan a vacation on a budget, my whole strategy for financially planning and preparing for trips. So definitely check that out. And then finally, on a less frequent basis, I do get my hair and nails done. Now, I don't have a set routine for this. I've already kind of decided that, for me, iced coffees, lash extensions, those are the things that need to happen regularly. I don't need to get my hair done or my nails done regularly. No judgment to those who do. I know it's very important to a lot of my clients. And when I do it, I definitely enjoy it. But I just have different priorities. So I don't have a set routine for when I get my hair and nails done, but I will say I definitely do it before I travel. And every now and then I will just randomly book a blowout for myself, or, if it's been a while, me and my boyfriend need pedicures, I will book that. But it doesn't happen on a very frequent basis. But when it does, I certainly consider it self-care. Okay, so I went through all of the ways that I prioritize self-care for myself. Now let's talk about the impact self-care has on my budget. So starting with those daily self-care activities, obviously working out, journaling, and, watching a TV show, there's really no impact to my budget. Those things just happen naturally. Other than me spending time on those things, doesn't really have an impact financially. Now, iced coffees and the weekly takeout definitely has a financial impact. I do have a line item in my budget for dining out, and I make sure that that category includes coffees. Now, I will be the first to admit I do struggle with this category sometimes, especially if I have kind of one-off plans or friends in town. I may go a little bit over budget in that category, but no matter what, iced coffees, takeout, it's always accounted for. Now, for the monthly self-care items, starting with lashes, I do factor in the amount I need for 2 appointments a month into my fun spending category. So that's how I account for that. Now, if I'm being 100% honest, the amount that I spend on those 2 appointments pretty much makes up most of the category allotment. But I do have a little bit left to purchase those movie tickets for my boyfriend and I twice a month. We have a nice little routine where I buy both of our tickets and he buys the food and treats. Now for travel, I already mentioned that I save monthly for this, but getting more specific, I have a line item in my budget for money goals. And included in that is saving for travel. So I try to save a minimum of $50 a month for travel when I don't have a trip coming up. Now, when I do have a trip coming, obviously I shift gears and save as much as possible for that trip ahead of time. And lastly, massages. So depending on the month and how my budget categories are looking for that month, I will usually leverage my fun spending or personal bills category for massages. Obviously, the lashes and the movie tickets make up most of my fun spending allotment. So if I'm not really seeing a movie in the month or I have a little bit left over, I'll use that category. Otherwise, it's a personal bill. If the pain in my neck and back is just so intense, to me, that is a bill that needs to happen to make sure that I'm feeling okay. Now, if the massage feels more like maintenance or nice to have, I will track it under fun spending and be okay with the fact that it'll probably push me a little over budget in that category. It is what it is. Now, for those less frequent self-care items, I already mentioned that when I have a trip planned, I'll focus on saving for it as much as I can ahead of time. And this will essentially look like me reducing my spending in other discretionary categories or have a focus of making more money. So if my categories are pretty tight or I have stuff planned, my goal will be to bring in more so that I can put more into savings for that trip. And then for hair and nails, these are, essentials when I have a trip planned. So when I am saving for a trip, I will make sure to include a little bit extra for those appointments. Other times, if I have extra cash or I'm just needing a nice self-care bump, I'll make a random appointment and track it under fun spending. Like I mentioned earlier, this is how I personally prioritize self-care in my own life and budget. Feel free to take anything from my process or from my self-care list and use it for your own routine or create yours altogether. I think the point is to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, and self-care, making sure that's a top priority in your life and budget, is one of the best ways to do so. Thank you so much for tuning in to City Girl Savings today. I hope you feel empowered and inspired to master your money as you make your way to your dream life. Make sure you subscribe so you're the first to know when a new episode comes out. I truly value your thoughts and feedback, so please leave a review and let me know how this podcast has impacted you. Can't wait to chat soon and make it a great day.